everyone, my name is Sinead. I'm a senior recruiter here with Engage People Recruitment, a specialist financial recruitment company. I'm joined here with Paul McClatchie, the director of Engage People.
Hey Sinead, how's it going?
How are you?
Yeah, great, thanks. So my background is obviously I've worked in the sector over the last number of years. I'll let you elaborate. I suppose we both experienced recruiters on the accountancy side.
Yeah, that's it. So we both work on the accountancy desk here at Engage People, and thanks very much for joining us today, Paul. I suppose I just wanted to chat through, the kind of the current market at the moment, what it might be like for job seekers out there, and then also what it's like for, I suppose, hiring managers as well. It's obviously been a very interesting year, and one that has seen huge changes to, I suppose, how we work, and we're yet to see, I suppose, how workforces might look going forward. How would you describe, I suppose, the current accountancy market for job seekers, Paul?
There's been lots of changes this year. Look, I guess, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we're probably slightly busier than maybe we would have expected. So we, as you know, we had a very good start to the year. January and February were busy. March and April then really challenging. Just, a lot of companies weren't set up for remote working. There was people due to start jobs and in some cases they had to put a pause on start dates. But by and large, I think quarter three saw a bit of a bounce back, and quarter four, I would say it's primarily, most companies are sort of business as usual, albeit that some sectors aren't. I think that maybe there's slightly less movement to the junior end. I would say people are being replaced, rather than maybe a huge amount of growth. But definitely there's some sectors, and I think it's well known, pharma, tech, and what we've seen quite a few Irish companies are growing, so in addition to replacing leavers, they're adding to their teams. So we're reasonably healthy. And obviously there's recently been a vaccine announced. That may be another positive development. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you noticed a major difference between, I suppose, the first lockdown and then this lockdown in relation to recruitment?
So yeah, look, I think there has been. I think that period, for ourselves included, it was a big change. We were working from April to June. There was a lot of companies actually were hiring who sort of continue their process, but I think companies have a much clearer onboarding structure, and companies adjusted very quickly. I have to say, I think just within the accountancy world, there's a lot of software that people have been able to utilize, a lot of communication software. So I think by and large, companies maybe where they hadn't got that set up have implemented that. Certainly with their multinational clients, the way the world was moving towards, having sort of optional remote working. So it was maybe a case of implementing that. But it just appears to me like the start dates are very well organized. People get a welcome pack that obviously, sometimes includes a laptop, includes a phone. So I would have seen quite a difference now. Whereas, if companies need to hire, they will. Whereas I think a lot of companies maybe just pause things, sat in their hands, for that initial period.
Yeah, I think so too. Like we've had a number of, I suppose, candidates start roles within this lockdown period, the last 3 weeks. And, the processes have been, I suppose, for most smooth. People are much better set up. They have the processes in place. They're used to working from home now. So look, it's a positive experience.
Yeah, and well, just to mention on the other point you made, I mean, it was interesting that quite a few of the people who were due to start in April, May, and jobs roles that were paused indefinitely to a degree, a lot of them came back and actually they were hired. If you think about it, back in August, September, there was a series of sort of positive outcomes.
What advice, I suppose, would you give to job seekers who are looking for an accountancy role, I suppose, at the moment?
So I think from a job seeker's perspective, sometimes if there's a short-term pause, in previous markets, I would have said that you wouldn't want to wait around too long, but by and large, a lot of companies came through what were set up. So I think like the best thing, I think, look, and the advice isn't maybe that different to what we'd usually guess, or what we'd usually say, Sinead. So I think having your key criteria, so to know exactly what you're looking for, there's usually 2 or 3 pieces of criteria. It's around the role itself, basically, what's that going to offer you, from a career progression, career development perspective. You've got the logistics side of things, the location, and get the salary and everything right. And then I think the aspiration piece, if you were to really look at the exact type of company, maybe what type of manager you'd like to have, the type of people you want to work with. It's the way of the world. Some people love big companies, other people like small companies. But I think having a clear sense of that and knowing then if you see a role that's a direct fit for you, then you can really, really go after that one. I think we're generally agreed, like having a clear CV, 2 or 3 pages, I think works very well. And then really applying for specific roles and looking like to the recruiter or to the company who are receiving it, that you're applying directly to that position for a reason. And I think that speaks, that's a very strong message, I think, to get across. And then if you can outline your sectoral experience, or if you can outline if there's criteria that's mentioned for the role and maybe you haven't achieved that yet, or you haven't got the sector experience, I sometimes think actually addressing that and acknowledging it can be a good way to go. And then just if you're working maybe in a multinational, just trying to align the titles, because as you know, like Sinead, we often get CVs from people who they might work in a multinational and they might be called, a very bespoke title in there. And I just think people, can make life easy for yourself, maybe simplify it by calling it a financial accountant or a senior financial analyst or whatever it is, basically, particularly if you're applying for a role that's similar. So I think it's making your CV and your application as relevant as possible. And really the goal of your CV is to get you in front of your target audience. What have I missed there? Anything jumping out?
I think you've mentioned everything there. I suppose what I'd say as well is for people to reach out to recruiters, even if it's just to, I suppose, ask what the market looks like at the moment, what sectors are they, busier in, what types of companies seem to be hiring at the moment, and what types of roles, to kind of, information seek, I suppose, at the same time, because a lot of people I suppose, are a bit nervous or apprehensive to move jobs at the moment. They think it mightn't be a good time, but just as we've said ourselves, some sectors are really busy at the moment and business is going really, really well. Unfortunately for some, they've been hit, obviously particularly hard, but for others that's not the case. So I think, the more they kind of speak to people, maybe peers or recruiters, it'll put their mind at ease, I suppose, as well. But look, thanks very much for your time and your insight into the accountancy, I suppose, kind of market at the moment. If anyone has any kind of comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you. So please comment below as well.
Thanks, Sinead. Cheers.